So today I'm going to go with you through a new product that the Cubewise code team has developed over, I would say, the last year, maybe a little bit more. We had a beta program running for the last 6 months and got some great feedback there. So today we are happy to announce the release of Slice, a new Excel add-in that sort of mimics the functionality of perspectives. And I'm going to start sharing my screen, but because I have bandwidth limitations, I'm going to unfortunately have to drop my video just temporarily until the end. I do see that Ben Heinel actually joined. So if you have questions, please ask them on the Pathable platform in the chat. Tom and Ben and myself will do our best to answer any upcoming questions. So thanks again for joining. So Slice, what is it? Slice is an Excel add-in. You can find it on the Cubewise code website. So that's code.cubewise.com. You can download it directly from there. I'm just going to go there real quickly. So under products, we have a new option now that's called Slice. You can download the installer or a standalone. So you can either install that into your start menu or run it directly from an unzipped folder. So once you read and accept the license agreement, these buttons will get enabled, and off you go. So there's a lot of content here. There's the overview of the features. There's 2 editions, a community edition that's free and a business edition that requires a subscription. We have some help articles and a blog. So I encourage you, if you need more information about what you are seeing here today, just visit the website and consume that content. All right, so going back to Excel. So once you load up Slice, you will see that it introduces a new ribbon. And then there are some options that should probably be familiar to Perspectives users. So you have like the Server Explorer equivalent. I'll get to that in a moment. There's a refresh button if sometimes metadata changes do not appear right away. This will fix that. You can upload your reports and workbooks to the application organizer in TM1 to share with other users or make them available via TM1 Web as well. You get various calculation options here. These options here in the center are more geared towards the business edition. So you get a burster where you can do selections across your report. So title dimensions, for instance, you want to burst the report over various regions. Paste range, I'll show that later. Execute the DBS functions, so sending data directly to TM1. Remove TM1 functions will allow you to basically make a non-formula based copy of your content to a new workbook or new sheet. Any kind of Excel functions that you had in there will remain. We have the option to delete active form rows. So when you are publishing to TM1 Web, best practice is to remove all the rows on the row dimension, except for the TM1 RPT row formula, so the first row. This will help you do that. You can hide and show the active form formatting area. We do support action buttons. They work exactly the same as in Parfait and Perspectives. Sandboxes are supported. We offer a statistics overview, like how many cells are you in your, or how many DBRWs are in your workbook, etc. I will hopefully get to that. How do you connect to your TM1 environment? There's basically two ways. You can either run Slice standalone, right? So it comes with a like a built-in Arc instance that you can access locally. In a multi-user environment or multi-developer environment, you would typically connect to a centralized Arc server. So this would be a remote connection, even though it's localhost for me. I have this this option here enabled. All right, so let's get started. When you come in here to the Slice Explorer, so you're basically looking at a windowed version of Arc. So if you're familiar with Arc, you will see options that you are already aware of. We have a Cube viewer, we have a set editor, we have TI editors, rule editors, and it's kind of a full-blown TM1 development environment. But I can't go into too much detail into all the options that Arc offers because I want to keep the focus in this session about Slice. Okay, so you have the Slice Cube viewer, right? So basically your title elements, your row dimension, your column dimension. In Arc, we added a few right-click options that allow you to swap dimensions really quickly and do some filtering options, open a set editor, etc. You can sort individual columns. So there's a lot of features in the Explorer here that help you drive your content. So this is basically the as I said, the equivalent of the Server Explorer in perspectives. So once you generate your content and you're happy with the structure of what you would like to consume in Excel, we do now have a new button that basically interacts with Excel. You can do a snapshot. I'm not going to do that. This will just basically put the numbers in a grid, so no formulas. But here it gets more interesting. You do an export slice. I'm going to do that right now. It offers me the option to go to an existing workbook or to a new workbook. I'm going to choose an existing a new workbook, sorry. And voila, I just created a slice. So this is just remember the equivalent of formula mode in Parfait or in perspectives. So everything should look familiar. The structure and even the names of the formula are exactly the same, which brings me to a point that the slice add-in needs to run exclusively in Excel. So you can't run perspectives and slice or Parfait and slice at the same time, since there will be a collision who is going to be consuming or interpreting these formulas. Just an FYI. Then we have the subnames, which allow you to make title elements changes. So if I click here, double click here on the regions dimension, I see that Poland is an option here. I'm going to just select that. And then I'm going to recalculate the sheet. And the appropriate numbers will change. And of course, since these are DBRWs, I can also write back. So you will see here, it's still the DBRW function. Now I recalculate and I will see that the consolidation for the year will include this value as well. All right, so that's just the basic interaction with a slice. I'm going to show a little bit more after I'm going to generate an active form. So here, that's the third option. I'm going to click that, and then I'm also going to push that into a new workbook. And the lovely colors that we also took over from IBM are presented here as well. Same idea. Obviously, you have the hidden format area, so that works exactly the same. So you can format elements in the row by level, or you can change the color of your data area, etc. So that behavior is exactly the same as in perspectives. You can expand and collapse. A few more things that I want to show here is, for instance, removing the TM1 functions. I can do that into a new worksheet, and you see that it looks exactly the same. However, now looking at the formula, there is no more DBRW, so it just really generated a non-formula based report. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any kind of Excel functions in here, they will remain. So it's really only removing the TM1 related functions like subname, view, and the DBRWs. Okay, so one thing that I can also do here, I just want to show really quickly the paste range option. So if I recalculate that, I see that there are a bunch of zeros here. I can just basically take any number. It doesn't make sense really to paste those in, but I can now use the paste range option to paste those numbers in without destroying the underlying DBRWs. So that's what that's for. If I used a standard control copy and control paste, I would have overwritten the DBRW functions. So I recalculate that. That looks all good. We do have a context-sensitive right-click menu here as well. So just to show you some of the options, we do support tracing rules, drill through if there are any either relational sources or other cubes that are associated to drill. I can open those here as well. I can show the cell audit real quick. So here is just basically a list of all the intersections that make up that number. So if I go out here and I accidentally misspell an element, obviously I will see that there is no value produced right now, but with the cell audit, I can quickly find out why. So it's going to show me here that it cannot be, that element cannot be found in the period dimension. So I'm going to correct that real quick and recalculate. We do support cell annotations as well. So that's the TM1 cell annotation. So it's not something outside. It uses the exact same functionality that Perspectives offers. So I'm going to just say change the value, and I'm going to save that and close. And then you will see that if I hover over the cell, it'll actually show me the annotation that I had just added. Okay, there is yet another way to interact with Slice. So again, I can create a new workbook, do a right-click menu, and you see that there's also an option to insert an active form. It's slightly different than when you slice from the Explorer. So here I can give this a custom name if I wanted to for identification purposes. I select the server. I'm going to go to my general ledger cube. And here I have a view. And this one contains the option to actually allow me to expand and collapse columns as well. So I'm just going to go here, do the quick formatting. And as you can see here, now on the column headers, I do see plus and minus signs. So I can just collapse the net income, which is like the top element here, and then drill my way through to the content that I'm interested in seeing. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next section. I'm going to just briefly pause here if there are any unanswered questions.
Yeah, we just had a question come in from Josh, who's saying we're using PA on the IBM cloud? And can Slice support our normal identity provider for authentication?
Yes,
like
the answer is yes. So there is an onboarding process offered by IBM where you can request access keys. And then if you have Slice/Arc configured properly, once you log in, you will be redirected to your third-party authentication provider, Okta, for instance, or whatever is configured by IBM, or with you with IBM. It will move on to the IBM ID authentication, automatically recognize that you are authorized to access the site. It'll come back with a token to us, and we are able to now connect to Planning Analytics Cloud. So either you can use IBM ID directly if you have it configured that way. Third-party authentication providers are also supported. Great question. Thank you.
Thanks, Guido. And just maybe one more before we move on.
Okay.
Matteo says, what can Slice do that Parfait can't do? Maybe
Okay.
pick a couple of things.
I think I will answer that question, but in a moment. So I'm going to continue now. And Matteo, if your question is not getting answered at the end, please feel free to reiterate. Okay, so I prepared a little workbook to show some of the advanced features that Slice offers that go beyond what Perspectives and Parfait offer. So one thing that you may not have noticed, but the set editor is actually a multi-select or is multi-select ready. So in fact, I can click on Eastern Europe. I can control click now to do a multi-selection, or if I would do a shift click, it would do the range. So I'm just going to take those three consolidations and click OK. And you will see that the visualization of the subname slightly has changed. So we now see a pound sign that can actually be configured to be something else to your liking. But you see that it's now Eastern Europe plus Western Europe plus Scandinavia. So basically what this does, it creates an on-the-fly sum, in this case, of these three elements. So once I do a recalculation, you will see that these numbers will represent this custom consolidation or virtual consolidation, as we call it as well in the documentation. The nice part about this is here, you can use the basic mathematic operations, so plus, minus, multiply, and divide. So you can do a ratio if you felt like, or just a difference between actual and budget. See how that works without having to go into your model and either create that via rule or even add an extra column here and put an Excel function in. So a great way to do on the fly further analysis of your data. So I'm just going to reset that real quick and do a recalc. So to go beyond that, we also offer what we call virtual expressions. So these are really utilizing MDX functions that are supported by TM1. There's a list somewhere online. So you get a min, you get a max, you get a sum, you get an average, and there are a few more that are supported. And you can generate this by either concatenating strings or whatever mechanism you want to use in your workbook. Excel is limitless in that regard. However, in my case, I just typed in this string here. I named this the region average. So I made a named range. And now I can go directly into my DBRW and I'm going to look for the reference to the region dimension, which is C15. And I'm just going to paste in here my region average and hit enter. And now you will see that these, well, sorry, I forgot one step. I need to actually copy that formula across all the workbook or the data area. And now I can see this would be an average of these three regions. Similarly, I can also create a list of elements and put that in a named range. So I call this my regions. So this could be an L list, again, in combination with any kind of MDX, if you want to display it like the top 5 sales, something along those lines. You can easily do that. So I'm going to go back here into my DBRW and hit enter. Again, do my copy and recalculate. So now I'm actually seeing a sum of these regions that are a member of my named range here. So pretty cool. I think there's a lot of possibilities on about how you can enhance your or offer your users new functionality within, excuse me, within any kind of report or input template that you can think of. Awesome. So that's one thing that's going beyond perspectives and parfait. The other thing that that's the next and last section is obviously hierarchy support. So that's a big topic. So neither perspectives nor parfait in formula mode support hierarchy. So how does that look in Slice? So I have a little tiny view here, just to point out that the year dimension now contains the reference to a hierarchy. So if I look in my year dimension here, that's very far down. I have the 2 default hierarchies. So year, that's the same name as the dimension name. I have the leaves. These will automatically get generated when you create a dimension. And then you have, I created this custom one that just has like these 3 elements in it. So I use this hierarchy here in my Q view. And now I'm going to export an active form again. And then you will see it looks almost the same, but there are 2 significant differences, or yes, 2. So one is if I look at, or well, 3 actually. So one is instead of a DBRW, we are creating a DBHW. So this is the DBRW equivalent. However, if you look closer at what the dimension is referred to, there is now, instead of just the dimension name, it's dimension name colon, and then the name of the hierarchy that Slice took over from the view that I had just shown in the Explorer. So that's one, those are 2 changes, right? So DBH and DBHW, both are supported, the equivalent to DBR and DBRW functions. And then the other part is, and this is supported on both rows and columns. Here also, you see that now I'm displaying only 3 elements. Those are the ones in the hierarchy that I created. So here also the reference again to the year dimension, followed by the reference to the hierarchy. So now you can really use Excel with hierarchies. That's a pretty big step forward in the right direction, in my opinion. So quite powerful. And that is the end of the prepared content. I just want to show you like just 2 slides. So don't forget to provide feedback. That's highly appreciated to make things better for you as well as for us to see if the content that we offer is at the level where you would expect it. Again, conference feedback, similar, that's on the Pathable site as well. And then here's my email address. So if you have any further questions that were not answered during this session, please feel free to reach out. I think we are at 4:28. I'm going to see if my video is holding up. Thank you for joining. Tom, any more questions that we can answer like within the last minute?
So there was one that's come in, but I think Ben's done an amazing job of answering them in real time and saving both you and I a job. So I had a quick question just on, you mentioned you can't use the slice alongside perspectives or Parfait at the same time. If you had them installed at the same time, are there any problems that can come from using that? How would you switch between them?
Right, so that's standard Excel functionality. So you go into your options, and then you go into the add-ins, and then here is it's a few clicks actually. They made this much harder than it used to be. So you go into the Excel add-ins, and here you can you see I have it installed but not activated. I loaded it manually through the file menu, but you would basically disable perspectives or Parfait, then exit Excel first. That would be my recommendation. I've seen add-ins not getting unloaded with those checkboxes right away. So recycle Excel, and then you would enable the slice add-in. That would be the way to go. Excellent question.
Great, thanks, Guido. So I think that kind of wraps it up. There's one more question from Ben. Can you use DBHW and DBRW on the same report?
Yes, you can.
Great. Cool. So thank you for that. It's really interesting to see that product coming out.